and welcome to another video.
Welcome back. Welcome to another video. Welcome back to another video. Welcome to another video.
So welcome to another video.
So welcome to another video.
Welcome to another video. Welcome to another video.
Welcome to this video, and today marks the 100th day that I've been flying the DJI Neo, and I've been testing this drone to absolute destruction and beyond. Mostly for your entertainment, but also because I'm very interested in these things. If you watch any of my other videos, you'll know that I take trying to break the Neo very seriously. I've succeeded a few times, but more often than not, it's actually beaten me. I feel I've got a good understanding at this point of what this drone's about, who it's for, and who it's not for. So I'm going to share those findings with you today, but before I get started, let me just make a really bold claim and state that in over 18 years of flying drones, the DJI Neo is probably one of the most fun drones I've ever flown, and I'm going to share with you why I feel that way. Okay, so let's talk about the build quality of the Neo. Now, I have flown this drone, well, not this one, because this one's still in one piece. I've flown the Neo at full speed into trees, walls, lobbed it off a cliff, turned the motors off at 120 meters to plummet to its death, flown it in a storm, in the rain, in the dark, all those conditions. I'm not going to say that it came away unscathed. Obviously, it didn't. It did get some damage, but I was still able to fly afterwards, and that's incredibly valuable because if you're out in the field, you're filming, and you have a little mishap, if you're still able to fly in some form and still keep rolling, that's incredibly useful and such a credit to the Neo. So here's some of the highlights from those experiments. The Neo weighs about 135 grams, which gives it very little inertia. That, coupled with the fact that the frame's very well built and very solid for its small size, makes it probably one of the most durable drones that DJI have ever produced. The Avatar one was very good, but I'd say this one's even better. It's just very crash resistant, and that's a massive credit to this little drone. The main weak points on this drone are these little plastic protectors around the camera at the front. They will get crumpled in if you have a head-on collision and then expose your camera, making it vulnerable. So if you're looking to crash a lot, then maybe a protector for the front might be useful. Also, the ducting is probably another weak point, although you can crack these and probably still keep flying. But bumpers around that might be another worthwhile investment if you're looking to crash a lot. But generally, this is a very, very crash-resistant drone, and one that will take little impacts and more often than not probably walk away without any damage. Okay, let's talk about the camera of the Neo. The Neo's got a mechanical single-axis stabilized gimbal with electronic image stabilization in the other axes. The sensor is a half-inch sensor, and the quality coming from this drone in terms of image quality is regarded as being okay. It's not amazing. I don't think it's amazing, but it's all right, and it's one of the trade-offs of this being a very lightweight drone, so you can only expect so much. Even though the Neo will produce 4K 30 frames per second files, because you've got no mechanical roll stabilization, means that you have to use electronic stabilization to crop in and correct for roll movement. That means you have to upscale the image a little bit, and that loses a bit of the quality. So probably one of the reasons why the quality coming out of the Neo is a bit less than you'd expect from a 4K camera, but it's still not bad. So you have to give and take that a little bit. Now, with that all being said, and pointing out that the camera quality is a bit subpar on this drone, there are a few things you can do to mitigate it, and I've done a video around that, which I'll leave a link up here somewhere, and also in the description if you want to have a look at that and how you can optimize your camera quality from the Neo. But in a nutshell, what you can do is reduce your EV compensation down to -0.3 or -0.7, keep your ISO as low as possible, as close to 100 as you can, and also use natural light in the best possible way and avoid high dynamic range situations. Additionally, you might not know this, but you can also record a form of HDR with the DJI Neo. In order to enable that, you need to be in one of the auto camera settings, such as full auto, or set your ISO to auto compensation, and then you'll get HDR out of this drone. On the camera side, one firmware improvement I would love to see on the Neo would be to allow users to manually adjust their EV compensation in AI track modes. because those modes are completely fixed and they tend to be a bit overexposed, and it would be nice to set them to -0.3 or -0.7. Okay, talking about the general features on the Neo, and starting off with the sensors, you've got GPS on top and visual and infrared sensors below. Unlike the Air 3S, which can keep its position very well with just GPS, the Neo ideally needs all three of those sensors to work together in order to give you the best possible positioning hold. That's not to say that you can't fly with just GPS, such as if you're flying in the dark or over water, but because it's got a very weak GPS sensor and you need a very strong GPS link, it's quite risky to do so, and you'd have to just make sure that you have strong GPS links in order to mitigate those risks. So it's not to say that you can't do those things, but DJI recommend against it, and for good reason, because it's quite risky. But yeah, those are the positioning hold sensors on the Neo. If you're interested in flying over water with the Neo, I've done a whole video about that, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. In terms of battery life, you get about 10 minutes flight time out of this drone, possibly a bit more if you're flying carefully, more likely a bit less if you're flying aggressively, so it's all down to how you fly this drone. With that being said, the batteries on the Neo are very small and draw very little current when you charge them. So if you use the charging hub and you're out and about and you've got a power supply which can produce 65 watts, you can actually charge all three batteries at the same time simultaneously and be fully charged with 3 more batteries to go in 1 hour, which is absolutely fantastic. And there's not many drones which can actually do that in terms of simultaneously charging all 3 batteries. The top speed for this drone is just short of 29 kilometers an hour. If you're flying in manual mode with the FPV system, you can get up to a whopping 70 kilometers an hour or more if you've got a tailwind. But yeah, in terms of GPS modes, it's not a particularly fast drone, but it's very small, and you kind of have to match the size of the drone to the speed and the environment you're flying in. So for example, if you're looking to fly down the side of Mount Everest, this drone's not for you. You'd want a very big drone. If you're looking to fly down a little hill or in built-up areas, then this is a much better drone for you because it's more built for small environments. Okay, in terms of transmission range, you get about 10 kilometers in FCC mode and 6 kilometers in CE mode. That's on paper. In practice, we found about 2 to 3 kilometers is the point where you'd have to turn around and make it back so your battery doesn't die on you. That means that your total travel distance you can do with this drone is about 5 to 6 kilometers. You'd never get to 10 kilometers range unless you've got an extremely strong wind behind you. And then lastly, you've got 22 gigabytes of onboard storage, which allows you to store about half an hour's worth of 4K footage directly onto the drone, which is enough in my opinion, because at that point you should really download and back up your footage anyway. It's a bit of a shame they don't have an SD card slot on this drone, because that would kind of get you out of a situation where if you have a crash into water or salt water and you fry your circuits, you might not be able to retrieve your footage, and an SD would be nicer in those situations. But you can't have everything. But 22 gigabytes onboard storage is nice nevertheless. Okay, let's talk about something that really sets this apart from other drones, and that's the fact that you've got a huge selection of control methods to fly this drone. First of all, you've got AI modes, which basically means that the drone flies itself and you don't need a controller, which is incredibly useful because it just cuts down the time it takes to take those shots. In those modes, you just select one of these pre-programmed modes from the top, such as active track or your classics like rocket or orbit, and they'll take off from your palm, do your shot, land back in your palm, and you're good to go. Literally takes seconds compared to other drones like the DJI Minis, where you've got to unfold your arms, get your controller out, connect the sticks, do all that sort of jazz. With this one, it just goes so much quicker. I mean, have a look at this comparison that I did just to show how much quicker it is to do a shot with the Neo compared to the DJI Mini 3 Pro. The next method is mobile phone control, which works quite well because it allows you to steer the drone in proper manual mode, but it's a little bit finicky because the controls aren't that good. It can break up a little bit, and your maximum range is 50 meters horizontal and 30 meters altitude, so it's quite limiting. But the nice thing is, if you look at the size of even the N3 controller compared to the drone, you're adding a lot of bulk if you carry both. So if you just want to carry this and stay very light and have a bit of more flexibility, mobile phone controller is a way to get around that. The next control methods are with proper controllers. So you've got the RCN3 controller, which comes with the Fly More package, attaches the mobile phone at the top, and that works really well, and that's kind of your budget version. And then you've got the RC2 controller, which you can buy separately, which has a built-in screen and more buttons on it. The advantage of using these controllers is that they're better for cinematic flying or for picture taking. You'll get better range, so you're not confined to 50 meters horizontal distance, and also you're going to be able to get higher top speeds out of these, because mobile phone control is quite limited for the top speed you can achieve with mobile phone control. But then the fun doesn't stop there, because once you've got your gear and you're bored with the Neo, with the normal functions, you could also get yourself a set of Goggles 3 or Goggles N3 if you're on a budget, and then you can either fly in FPV mode using the rather phallic looking DJI Motion Controller 3, which kind of allows you to fly in a different, more user-friendly flying experience. It's good fun, but not really for me. Or if you want a more purist flying experience, you can get the Remote Controller 3, which is more of your standard FPV controller, and that allows you to fly proper FPV with the Neo. Small drone, crashable, can take a few impacts, hit small gaps. What's not to like? Brilliant. Okay, so this brings me on to who is this drone actually for? Well, in my opinion, there are 5 groups of people that this drone's perfect for. And the first one, as stated by DJI themselves, is vloggers, because the Neo can be put in place as a B-roll camera in seconds. It's safe around people, it's lightweight, it's quite cheap. It's absolutely perfect for B-roll. And the thing with B-roll is it doesn't really matter if your quality of the footage is not that perfect. Just look at how often mobile phone footage is used in documentaries. It doesn't matter if the footage is slightly shaky, a bit grainy, framing's off. It's in the right place at the right time. That's all that matters. The second group of people that the Neo is perfect for is as a travel drone. If you're hiking, adventuring, any of those kind of things, the fact that you can take off so quick and get the shot done so quick without having to unfold things, connect controllers, all that jazz, just take off, get the shot done in seconds and keep going, is so invaluable. It means that you're not going to piss off your partner or the people you're traveling with because you're constantly stopping to get your controller out, attach your sticks and all that. This is just very quick. And it's a little bit like the argument for the best camera is a camera you've always got on you. In the same way, you could claim that the best adventure drone is a drone that you've always got access to. The next group of people I'd say the Neo's perfect for would be a newbie, someone who's maybe on a budget, wants to have a bit of a dabble with drones, not sure if they want to commit financially into thousands of pounds or dollars, but maybe see how it goes, see if they enjoy it. This drone, at the moment, you can pick these up for £120 in Argos in the UK, which is an absolute steal. So if you're in the UK, highly recommend getting one of these while they're still that low. Even the Fly More package, currently £240 at Argos, but even at £300, which is the normal price, with the controller, which I'd highly recommend because it gives you a bit more flexibility. It's so worth getting, and it just allows you to explore the whole field of DJI drones and get a taste for what it's like. Let's not forget that as a beginner, you're going to have quite a high likelihood of having a few crashes and prangs, and with this drone having such a good crash resistance, the likelihood of you causing any damage to it is not impossible, but quite limited. So that's great for beginner. And just to reiterate again, the fact that you've got such a wide plethora of ways to fly this drone and also expand into if you get an FPV system, it's just great to give you a bit of a taste into what flying drones is about. You'll probably want to go into something a bit larger eventually, but as a first drone, it's absolutely perfect. The next use case is anyone looking for a sub 250 gram C0 FPV drone with GPS. This is perfect because even though it's not the best FPV drone per se, this does allow you to fly in places where something like the Avatar 2, you won't be able to fly, such as over people. So for that, it's absolutely perfect. Obviously, be advised that you're still subject to airspace restrictions, and you would also need a spotter when you fly this, just like any other FPV drone. But in terms of being a C0 drone, it does give you a little bit more options on where you can fly it, and that's great for this one. The last use case is simply just for fun. This drone is small, lightweight, nimble. You can hit little gaps with it, fly FPV. I do stuff with this that I wouldn't do with any other drone or any other DJI drone because I'd be scared I'd break it. With this, I can hit a little gap, and if I hit a branch or something like that, it'll fall down, I'll pick it up, dust it off, and in most cases it'll be fine to fly again, and you can just have a lot of fun with it. So they are the 5 sort of groups of people that I feel this is perfect for. It's not a perfect drone, and there are a couple of groups of people that this isn't for. And the first one is anyone who's looking for exceptional video or still image quality. This is not the drone for you. It does not produce amazing video quality. Like I said, you can get the most out of it by following a few guidelines, but ultimately it's just very much underpowered on the camera side. It just doesn't produce amazing results. And if you're after that, if you're after something you can blow up to A2 prints, or something you want to create nice cinematic videos that are really going to stand out on YouTube for being cinematic, then unless you're really good with your lighting, this is not the best drone for you. If that's what you're after, if you're on a budget, I'd go for one of the mini drones. If you can afford a bit more, then something like an ER3S or Mavic would be the better choice for you. The other group of people that this isn't for is if you're a proper FPV pilot and you're after a proper FPV drone. This isn't it, because it's lightweight, it's underpowered, it'll struggle doing freestyle maneuvers, it'll struggle in the wind. So it's not perfect for those kind of use cases, but it's a lot of fun if you just take it for what it is, which is a lightweight, cheap FPV drone with GPS. Okay, so that's the end of this video. And would I recommend the Neo? Well, for most people, absolutely yes. And there's a simple reason. Bang for buck, for fun, this drone is unbeatable. You can do things with this drone that you wouldn't dare do with more expensive, larger drones because of fear of damaging or losing those drones. With this one, as I've shown, in most crashes, you can get away with it. It's not impossible to damage in a crash, but if you do, even the drone itself is relatively cheap and it's not going to be an absolute disaster. So that's absolutely fantastic, and that's why this is so much fun, because you can do things that you wouldn't do with other drones or with bigger drones. I'm not saying all this as a DJI salesperson. I've got no affiliation with them and I get nothing for these videos. This is just my opinion on this drone, which I think is pretty fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful. As usual, please remember to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and all that jazz. And until next time, happy flying, stay safe, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.